Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a brutal, often overlooked chapter of American history, a war that kicked off after the Revolutionary War was supposedly over.
So picture this. The big war for independence? Yeah, that's over. But out on the new nation's frontier, the fighting has become way more personal. And honestly, just as deadly.
So you have the Armstrong family, right? They're out on the Virginia shore, building a new life next to their floating mill. They probably thought they were living the American dream, pioneers in this new heartland. The problem was, this land was very much contested territory.
And then, on the night of April 24th, the unthinkable happens. Their cabin, all isolated out there, is attacked by a war party. Mrs. Armstrong and two of her young children were killed and scalped. It was incredibly brutal.
And in all that chaos, 3 of the other Armstrong children are taken captive, just vanished into the forest. No one knew what happened to them or if they were even alive.
Okay, so here's the thing. The attack on the Armstrongs, as horrifying as it wasn't some random, isolated event. Not at all. It was actually a symptom of a much bigger conflict. So let's zoom out and figure out why this whole region was basically a tinderbox just waiting for a spark. Yeah, this whole thing did not just pop up out of nowhere. It was a slow burn, you know? Decades of broken treaties, horrific massacres, and this just bottomless appetite for more land. Every single one of these events, it's not just a date on a timeline, it's a promise that got shattered, a family that got destroyed, another reason for someone to seek revenge.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the whole problem. You had 2 groups with visions for the Ohio Valley that were, well, completely incompatible. I mean, look at it. For the U.S., this land was a product, a way to pay off war debts. They felt they'd won it by right of conquest. But for the Native Confederacy, this was home. This was their whole way of life. There was just no room for compromise.
And you know what's wild? It wasn't just the native tribes who saw what was happening. Just listen to this quote. This is from Edmund Pendleton, a delegate from Virginia. He basically admits that the war was just a pretext, right? A convenient excuse for driving the Indians from their fine lands. That is a pretty stunning admission, coming from someone on the inside.
So, what was it actually like to live through this? To be on the ground every single day? Let's take a look. Okay, so to even have a chance of surviving, settlers had to band together. They built these small, fortified places called stations, and you can think of them as kind of part fort, part neighborhood. You've got a cluster of log cabins built around a stronger central blockhouse, all of it connected by a big defensive wall.
I mean, life was lived on a razor's edge. This wasn't some war happening on a faraway battlefield. No, this was happening right outside your door, in your own cornfield. Just look at these accounts. Simple, everyday things like getting your cows from the pasture or even just sitting inside your cabin could get you killed in a split second. The fear must have been absolutely constant.
So all of these constant, brutal little attacks, eventually they forced the U.S. government to act. This couldn't just be a border war anymore. It was about to blow up into a full-scale official war. A war for the entire continent, really.
The thing is, the U.S. totally underestimated who they were up against. You had this powerful Native Confederacy, uniting different tribes under incredible leaders like Little Turtle and Blue Jacket. And they were a formidable force. They weren't just on the defense. They were winning. They actually handed the brand new American army a couple of really humiliating defeats.
And then in 1791, wow, the Confederacy pulls off this masterful ambush on an American army led by General Arthur St. Clair. And the result was a complete catastrophe. We're talking about 900 American casualties between soldiers and the people traveling with them.
Now, to put that number into perspective, proportionately, in terms of the percentage of the army that was wiped out, this was the single worst defeat in the entire history of the U.S. Army. The news just sent shockwaves through Washington's government. This was proof that the Native coalition could absolutely beat the U.S. military.
Yeah, St. Clair's defeat was so devastating, it forced a complete rethink of the entire U.S. military. So Washington turns to one of his toughest, most aggressive generals, a guy nicknamed Mad Anthony Wayne. And he gives him one single mission: build a new professional army from scratch. An army designed specifically to fight and win on the frontier.
And Wayne's new army, the Legion of the United States, well, it was a totally different beast. They trained relentlessly.
They marched with discipline right into the heart of the Ohio country, building forts as they went. See, they weren't just coming for a quick fight. They were coming to stay. They were there to end this war. Period.
So it all comes to a head at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. It's a short battle, but incredibly decisive. Wayne's Legion, all that training paying off, launches this devastating bayonet charge. It completely shatters the native resistance. And just like that, the Confederacy is forced to the negotiating table.
And the result of that negotiation is the Treaty of Greenville. This was a massive turning point. As you can see, the tribes had no choice but to give up huge chunks of land, basically all of modern-day Ohio. And that just opened the floodgates for American settlers to pour in. So yeah, it officially ended the war, but it was a peace dictated entirely on American terms.
And you know, buried in the details of that treaty, in the part about exchanging prisoners, our story comes full circle. Remember the Armstrong children? After more than a year in captivity, the 3 surviving kids who were taken in that raid, they were finally returned to their family. Or what was left of it.
So in the end, the Treaty of Greenville did stop the fighting. But what it really did was cement a conquest. It created a peace through force, not through any kind of mutual understanding. And that leaves us with this huge question, one that really echoes to American history, doesn't it? When one group's new beginning is built on the end of another's world, can there ever be a truly peaceful history?